If you lead an on-the-go lifestyle, how would you know if you had a basement flooding problem at home? What if your sump pump system could call you in advance of a problem so that you could take action before flooding occurs?
This is your sump pump calling. Your backup sump pump is not operable. Check your display for details.
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Linda.
What are we going to talk about today?
Well, we have an exciting new product to talk about. This is our SumpMinder Advanced Notification Battery Backup System.
Okay, I like the name. What does it do?
Well, it's a 12-volt battery backup system with integrated software technology to notify you in advance of any kind of problem.
So I could be out of town and this unit will call my cell phone and tell me I have a problem?
Yes.
Okay, that's great, because then I could reach my plumber or my neighbor in time to fix it so that I won't come home to a flooded basement.
That's right.
Okay, that's great. One less thing to worry about. How does it work?
Well, when you open up the package, you'll find inside the double float system with 3 wires, a battery backup pump, and the SumpMinder control unit. Also for the installation, you're going to need PVC pipe and fittings and glue and primer. You'll need a check valve. You'll need some other various tools to get the job done. You'll need a deep cycle battery for the system. And you're going to need an active telephone line to make the notification system work. Now we're ready to install the battery backup sump pump. I've already removed the lid for the sump pit, and I've put on the check valve onto the pump. We're going to lower the pump down into the sump next to the primary pump. I'm going to measure, cut, and dry fit the PVC pipe to match this system. What we want to do is create 2 discharge lines. The reason we want 2 discharge lines is that if the AC pump is overwhelmed during a bad storm or a lot of water coming in, the DC pump can run and you can have water flowing up both pipes out of your basement. So you can see we've installed the second discharge line from the backup pump. Next, we're going to position the dual float switch on the discharge pipe. You want to position the dual float switch above the float on your primary pump and away from the inlet pipe from your sump pit. I've zip tied the wires to keep them from falling back into the sump pit because I don't want them going in there and interfering with the operation of the floats. I've put the lid on the sump pit, and now we're ready to finish wiring the SumpMinder unit. When you're installing the SumpMinder system, you'll have to plug in each of the supporting components. Each of the plugs is unique and only goes in one way. You'll plug in the power, the DC backup pump, the dual float system, the telephone line, and there's a port for a security system if you have one already installed in your home. Let's talk about 12-volt batteries. The proper type of battery for this type of application is a deep cycle battery, not an automotive battery. We recommend using a battery that has 40 amp hours or greater. You can use up to 120 amp hours, and that gives you more time of protection. Our carton on the side and at our website, waynepumps.com, gives you guidelines showing you how many hours of protection you have based on the amp hour rating of the battery and how often your sump pump runs. Now we're going to go through the SumpMinder setup screens. The first screen is going to ask you to select a language, and I'm going to select English. Next, it's going to ask me to enter the date and time. I'm going to use the up and down arrow keys and the next button to proceed through the menu. Then it's going to ask me if I have read all of the installation codes and regulations regarding the installation of the SumpMinder, and yes, I have, so I'll press Next. Next, it's going to ask me to enter the battery type. Now, the battery we're using is not a Wayne battery that you see on the menu. We are going to use another type of battery, so we'll select Other. The type of battery we're using is a deep cycle maintenance-free battery. So I'm going to select that type of battery on the menu screen. Then it's going to ask me for the size of the battery. We're using a 75 amp hour battery, so we're going to select the 41 to 80 range and press enter. Next, it's going to ask me for the date of purchase of the battery, so I'm going to use the up and down arrow keys to enter the month and the year for the date of the battery, and then press enter. The next screen is going to remind me that the SumpMinder unit needs a minimum charge time of 24 hours before the battery is fully operational and ready to go. So I'll press enter. And now I'm ready to enter the first priority phone call number into the system. I'm going to use the side-to-side arrow keys to select each number and then press enter to put the number into the screen. Now, as you'll see, you're going to want to enter the number exactly the way you should dial a phone in your area. So if you have to use an area code and then your full phone number, that's how you're going to want to enter it on the screen. In this example, I'm entering in an office phone number, so you can see I press a 9 and then the star star and then put a number in to make the phone operate correctly, and then I'll press enter. Now it's going to ask me if I want to do a test for the phone number I just entered, and of course I'd like to see if this works, so I'll press yes. Now remember, you can add in other numbers into the SumpMinder. You can have it call your plumber or your neighbor or one of your good friends in the event that you're away from the home and you need somebody else to run over and check on your Sump unit.
This is a test. 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 This is.
Okay, so we know the SumpMinder's called my phone correctly, so the test call has been received, so I'll answer yes on the menu screen. And it's going to ask me if I want to enter my other phone numbers in, which I don't at this time, so I'll simply answer no. Now it says your installation setup is complete. So the SumpMinder is fully ready to go at this time. SumpMinder continually monitors your systems for power to the primary AC pump and the status of your deep cycle battery. Also, every 14 days it tests the dual floats and runs the DC pump to check for proper operation. More on telephone lines. Your most secure option is to use a traditional phone line. These continue to work even if the power goes out. If you don't have a traditional phone line in your house, consider asking your phone company to install a service line. Third-party security monitoring companies use these kinds of service lines, and they typically cost only about $10 to $20 per month depending on your area. You can also use digital type phone systems like DSL or your cable phone. But you'll have to install the proper types of phone filters on the line to make them work. Ethernet or PBX commercial phone systems will not work with the SumpMinder system. Now we're going to simulate a flood emergency. The bottom float's already been activated, and now the water raises up the upper float. There may be a problem with the pump not keeping up, too much water coming in. So now the display screen shows that I should inspect the pump. The backup pump's been activated, and now it's also showing with an icon that it's going to call my phone number that I've programmed into the SumpMinder unit. So when I receive the phone call, it's going to give me a warning message, and I'm going to cancel that message by pressing £1.
Your backup Sump system. Check your Sump system display for details. Hello. This is your Sump system calling. The alarm call-out has been canceled. Goodbye.
We received an email from Kurt from Minnesota, who recently installed a SumpMinder in his home. My wife and I both received calls letting us know we had a water emergency on Wednesday afternoon around 3 o'clock. It was a beautiful fall day in Minnesota, and we both thought it was a mistake. Wrong. Our daughter arrived home, and the garage door opener was not working. The power was out. My wife arrived home around 6 o'clock. She checked the sump pump. The system was working on battery backup. The screen read the battery was at 60% power. Power came back on at 6:30. I reset the system, and the battery was quickly back up to 100%. This is a great example of how SumpMinder protects your basement and gives you peace of mind.